Deeply saddened by the loss, and I appreciate everybody's thoughts and prayers, and we'll get through this. Okay. And I'm sure he'd want us to keep going, so that's what we're going to do.
As the family of Dale Earnhardt vows to go on, the NASCAR community mourns the death of its greatest hero.
Join us for this special edition of WPDE News Channel 15 at 6, The Loss of a Legend.
You're watching WPDE News Channel 15 at 6 with Allyson Floyd, Keith Sterling, meteorologist Ed Piotrowski, and sports with Rich Chrampanis. And now, the Grand Strand and PD's #1 source for local news, WPDE News Channel 15.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Keith Sterling.
And I'm Allyson Floyd. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of WPDE News Channel 15 at 6 as we mourn the loss of a legend. Joined
now by our sports director at News Channel 15, Rich Chrampanis. World of NASCAR never be the same, sir.
No question about it, and I think people here in our backyard realize that you can put Dale Earnhardt in the same sentence as Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods, and judging by the outpouring of emotion today, this reminds me an awful lot of Princess Diana and what we went through. That emotion is there today, not just here in our backyard, but all across the nation, as it is indeed a day of mourning across the auto racing world. NASCAR is well aware of the dangers week in and week out, but are never prepared to say goodbye to one of its elite members. The sports leaders met the media in Daytona today to discuss the Dale Earnhardt tragedy.
Dale Earnhardt's head-on collision during the last lap of Sunday's Daytona 500 resulted in blunt force injuries to the head, confirmed today in an autopsy. Earnhardt was not wearing the Hans device, the head and neck safety system that has been used by select drivers to protect the skull and neck area during high impact. Dr. Steve Bohannon says the Hans system would not have guaranteed Dale Earnhardt's survival.
Even if he had had the device on, hitting the wall that fast may have resulted in the same injuries.
I try to make sure that I gain all the knowledge I can for what's out there to be as safe as I possibly can. And the Hans device is an option. It's just something that I haven't elected to use yet.
You go to Talladega or Darlington and look at a race car that's on display there and look at the cars the guys are using this weekend or this season, you see a great vast difference in a lot of parts and pieces on the race cars. And it's an ongoing work in progress that everybody in the garage area, all the masterminds who are the best in the business are working on.
President Bill France announced that this weekend's events at Rockingham will go on as scheduled. Meanwhile, fans across the world and Earnhardt's colleagues are mourning the death of a race legend.
Dale I think would love the race to go on just because he's a racer and a very good competitor, and you know, obviously it's not going to bring Dale back.
This is a tough period in NASCAR's history. I can't think of any time it's been more tough.
You know, Rich, we heard in that piece that Earnhardt wasn't wearing the Hans device. Why was that?
There's two parts to the Hans device. First and foremost, it supports the head upon severe impact, and there's obvious nothing but benefits from that. Right. The other part of the Hans device, Michael Waltrip used the word cumbersome, and the Hans device would prevent you from getting out of the race car in a quick fashion. That's certainly another aspect of the safety in NASCAR Winston Cup racing. If there was a fire or if there was some sort of situation where you have to get out of the car immediately, and we saw it in the 18-car pileup in yesterday's Daytona 500, a separate accident from Dale Earnhardt's, where there were some drivers who needed to get out of that car as quickly as possible to avoid a lot of burning. So with the Hans device, there's some drivers who feel that it is cumbersome and it would hurt you in that aspect of the safety. There's only a select few drivers who are wearing the Hans device right now. One of them is Ricky Craven, a guy that I've had a close relationship with. He went through a severe head injury at Texas Motor Speedway a few years ago. So he sees the benefit of the Hans device after going through that he's willing to deal with the restrictions a little bit of getting out of the race car to protect his head.
Well, I think we've always heard Dale Earnhardt maybe wasn't a big fan of restrictions in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, and Dale Earnhardt, I'm sure, has no regrets about wearing the Hans device.
Well, of course, thousands of fans here at home in South Carolina, across the country, took the day today to pay tribute to their hero.
They came from all over the country to stop at the track Too Tough to Tame. WPDE News Channel 15's Crystal Candy joins us now live from the Darlington Raceway with more. Crystal.
Well, it is hard to put into words the feeling in the air here at Darlington. Sadness, grief, and shock just doesn't seem to sum it up. No matter how you describe it, this is where thousands are coming to remember Dale Earnhardt. The words on the van say it all. Headed home with number 3 heavy on our hearts. These race fans are headed back home from Daytona. On their way, they were drawn to Darlington.
Well, it's 14 of us in the van, and all we've talked about since we left the racetrack yesterday is Dale Earnhardt. I mean, we've got people that don't like Dale Earnhardt that wants to come here.
They cry, they hug, they gather to comfort each other.
We heard on the radio that they were opening the track for everybody to stop by and show their condolences, and some pretty sad fans, so we all decided we'd stop by and show how much we cared about Dale.
They come to Darlington because it ties them to his memory.
Definitely a track too tough to tame for him. You know, I think he'd done a lot of aggressive racing here, just like every other track.
He drove like an old dirt track driver. He didn't care.
Flowers, cards, and balloons are all they can do to pay their respects to their hero. They say no one will be able to fill Earnhardt's shoes.
You liked him or you didn't like him, but you still had to respect him if you didn't like him. That's the type of guy he was.
Now, people we spoke with today who were at Daytona say they will never go back. The memories are just too much to relive again. Allyson, Keith, Rich.
Well, what about Darlington, Crystal? How long are they going to be open to the public to pay their respects?
Well, people are still coming out here tonight to drop off different things that you can see behind me, balloons and flowers and things like that. That will be open all the time, but the track itself will be open from 9 in the morning until 5. Fans are welcome to actually come out and walk on the track, bring flowers, and just remember Dale Earnhardt, but certainly a sad day here in Darlington today.
Thanks a lot, Crystal. Very emotional day as well across our area.
Absolutely. You know, it's the three of us have had the privilege to be at Darlington when Earnhardt was there. And as big as some of these other stars are, about Jeff Gordon, these other racers, I think the one thing that we always saw in that infield, the number 3, just painted across all those RVs, and people come from all over to support him. And that,
Keith, the thing about Dale Earnhardt is he was arriving into NASCAR at a time when there was no television contract. The sponsorship was small. Dale Earnhardt, to me, reminds me a lot of what Wayne Gretzky did for hockey. He brought hockey and made it mainstream. I think Dale Earnhardt is the one guy that's made NASCAR mainstream. The reason that the multi-million-dollar sponsorship deals, the brand new track facilities, is because Dale Earnhardt brought the excitement to television in the very early 1980s when NASCAR wasn't on live every week, when NASCAR didn't have weekly programs, when we weren't covering NASCAR year-round. He brought that excitement, and it was that little spark that kind of got things going, and now you see what NASCAR has become. And all those drivers who now are in their 20s or their early 30s who watched Dale Earnhardt race in the 80s, they inspired them to go into this sport. He's really had a ripple effect all the way through, and it's going to carry on for a long time.
It had a big effect on the fans as well. I mean, you talk about the emotion. People usually either loved him or hated him, but they respected him. Either way.
There was no question about it, and there was something to be said for the times that your favorite driver got spun out by Dale Earnhardt, whether it was in the last lap. I always remember the Bristol race a couple of years back where Terry Labonte came from behind and took the lead, and Dale Earnhardt, with 2 laps to go, just spun him right out and just went right to the checkered flag, had no excuses, and said, that's what he does. That's what I do.
He created magic out there.
Definitely so, and that's how you know, I think, that someone means so much to everyone, is that nobody just didn't have an opinion. Everyone had an opinion, whether it was good or bad, but everyone had that respect for him.
The other thing, too, is that he, without question, is the most respected driver in that garage. Every one of them had nothing but the utmost respect. If you heard all during Daytona Speed Weeks, during the Twin 125s, the drivers in the other Twin 125s standing on their trailers, they were all watching Dale Earnhardt to learn how to do restrictor plate racing.
That's why it's such a tough loss. And